Hey all, welcome back to the Hunter Call of the Wild. You're kind of catching me a little ways into my hunt because I actually didn't intend to record this session. But things have changed, so let me catch you up. First off, the reason I started this hunt was because of the community challenge and my desire to make sure I got the new camo skin rewards. If you're not aware, requirements were to get a mule, white, or black-tailed deer with a bow or crossbow and pass the harvest check. Second, I had opted to do this hunt on Silver Ridge Peaks after watching a session DD33 did here. I saw you guys having pretty good luck around this location, and I figured it would work for another idea I had toying around in my head. This leads me to my last point. I wanted to do a blind hunt. No tripod, tree stand, or bird blind, but just using a legitimate hunting blind. And while I could have erected the prefab stand that was located by my tent, I wanted to see if I could establish my own location. And because I wasn't recording for the initial portion, I put everything in place off camera. So what you're seeing here is footage I captured later while running around, so you can see where I'm at and how things are laid out. With that said, I now get to share with you the highlights in the rest of the day. I had spent over 3 hours out here in this open field valley, and while it wasn't non-stop action, it was actually a fairly busy location with only a little downtime. One final bit of information you should know. I haven't done this in a long time now, but this session was intended just to be a quick one-shot, one-kill harvest for the skin grab. That changed pretty quickly, but what you'll notice is I don't stick with my usual realistic hunting style, and I ended up spotting the animals this time around. Mind you, this ended up helping me out immensely, and I'm extremely happy with what happened. So I'm not going to complain, but you can look forward to me returning to my usual format for future hunts. For now, let's jump into the thick of it. This is where I actually started recording. No, it's not from seeing deer anywhere. Obviously, I'm dealing with turkeys. But if you're familiar with any of my previous hunts where I've stalked these birds, you'll know I've got a vendetta against them, because I've been trying for years to get myself a diamond fowl with no luck. Not just for the trophy, but also for the Thanksgiving Steam achievement. This has continued to elude me, to my frustration and detriment. Regardless, I knew I still planned to try to hunt them from the blind at some point, so I placed a few decoys on the ground off to the side. In addition, I set up the electronic collar so I could rapidly adjust to anything wandering by. As a result of this setup, this flock ended up being the first animal group to appear. And as you see, among which I had spotted a nice 20 to 24 pounder, the range I've chased after many times before and where I thought maybe I could get lucky with this one. Of course, I didn't want to get my first diamond gobbler without proof, and hence why I turned on my recorder. It was fun watching their heads bob up and down as they waddled around. They weren't in any real hurry to come in closer, and the big boy was definitely taking his sweet time, most likely out of an abundance of caution. But eventually the group made their way in. Some in a hurry, others flaring their wings. The hens were the first to mingle with the decoys. One even veering off to hang out right in front of the blind. Still, I held my shot and kept an eye on the prize. Mind you, that light brown hen did attract my attention though, as I have a weakness for that plumage variation. It's a nice contrast to the usual dark brown you get with the turkeys. Finally, I had my opportunity. Pulling up my shotgun, I took aim and let the pellets fly. Not once, but twice. That hen was mine as well. Neither of them went very far, actually dropping just outside the blind amongst the decoys. Time to claim my winnings. Of course, she wasn't anything special other than the plumage type. And he ended up as a nice gold. But, once again, I had just missed out on getting a diamond. That's my lot. With the harvest claimed, I returned back to the blind to wait for whatever stumbled by next. Which happened to be another tom. I watched him strut his stuff as he tried to show off for the decoy hens, not realizing it wasn't doing any good. This time, though, I decided to take the quieter approach and pulled out my bow. Check the distance. And let one fly. Pinned him in place. Before I head out to claim him, I did a quick glass of my surroundings. Spied a bear resting in the distance with his back to me. But with nothing else around, I exited to go pick up my bird. A bit smaller than the first one, he was still another nice gold. It was here where I decided to add a little spice and variety to my day and give myself a few challenges. Filling out all the dailies and the weekly tasks is something else to do, along with the community challenge, just to earn a little bit extra cash. Even though it was well beyond the range of my bow, I decided to keep an eye on that bear up on the hill just in case. It was then I noticed, at some point when I wasn't looking, a few elk and deer heads set up camp at the top of the ridge behind some trees. This prompted me to change the electronic caller's vocalizations in hopes of luring them in. But what I didn't realize was another turkey had snuck up on me from behind and was making his way towards the decoy flock. It was another 20 to 24 pounder. A quick ranging and an arrow shot later, and he went down. Being silent but deadly, but not in that other way, the males were unaffected on the hilltop. So glancing at the light-colored mound on the ground, the male's feathers fanned out on display, it was time for me to make another claim. What a beautiful sight. And check out the arrow sticking out of the wing. Picking him up yielded one of my best gifts so far. It ended up tying for my highest scoring turkey this hunt, but he was a light brown feather variation to boot. What a sweet combination. Not bad, and a good start for the challenges I set up for the day. So with them in my bag and heading back to the blind, I spotted movement up ahead. Bighorn sheep. A fairly large herd of them, but they were acting weird. Something had them spooked. I didn't think it was me, because I was crouching. But maybe my scent was getting to them? Kept my eye on them as I crouch walked their direction. But they ended up fleeing anyway. I'd find out soon enough why. Great. I'd need to take care of this, or I'd have problems getting the deer I was after. With the collar set to lure in the lion, I watched with bated breath for it to get close enough to take a shot with the bow, since the only other weapon I had was a shotgun with bird pellets. But he was hesitant, and with a short sniff of the air, I must have been busted, because he turned and bolted off. Returning to the inside of the blind, I found that the elk and the deer on the hill had moved on. I think they may have had their own line on that side of the valley as well, after noticing some of them were nervous. But with that big cat having taken off, this gave the sheep confidence to return and move towards their original goal. That was short-lived though, as they did a 180 and came racing back across the field again. Which could only mean one thing. Yep, the cat's back. Since it wasn't coming any closer, I decided to take a crazy shot, lobbing an arrow long distance in the hopes of getting lucky. Nope, just spooked her. But although she's big, she's still a cat. And this one wanted to play games. Apparently, she liked to play hide and seek. While she was ducking in and out of the bushes, I took the opportunity to look around again and spotted a trio of ewes crossing in the distance. And glancing back, the herd of sheep were milling around the tree line waiting for the all clear. That wasn't happening though. With the cats multiplying. Now, there were two of them. While the cat duo maintained their distance, this didn't prevent a herd of mule deer from trotting in, nor setting up camp next to the ewes I'd spotted earlier, who are now resting. And here's where I fell in love at first sight. That light-colored doe stood out like a sore thumb against the others as she tagged along with the group. Whatever kept them busy earlier in the morning must have tired them out, because they were ready to sit and stay a while. Either it got crowded, or they didn't like their dear neighbors. Whatever it was caused the elk to move out. But with the scent and the cry of a nearby cat, they all did an about face and strolled off in a different direction. The cat didn't seem to bother the new tenants, though. At this point, I was getting frustrated with the electronic collar. It had been going non-stop all day since I started here, and besides the turkeys, nothing else was coming in. I still wanted and needed a deer with a bow shot. If they weren't going to come to me, I guess I'd have to go to them. So I decided to move out. Well, I probably could have walked upright for a little bit longer. I wanted to make absolutely sure I wasn't going to spook anything. So I crouch walked across the field to get closer to them. It was slow going, but I did periodic checks to see how close I was getting, just to break up the monotony. Now, I wasn't able to spot that special doe, but I certainly had a nice buck in my sights. Approximately 140 yards. Well within rifle range, but pushing the limits of a bow. Of course, I was using a range-finding scope, so I was willing to take a chance. Raising my weapon, I gauged the distance, adjusted the angle, and let the arrow fly. I couldn't tell if I'd made contact, but I certainly got their attention. And there she was again, her light fluid glinting in the sun, trotting off behind the trio who also stood up, curious as to what was going on, before they themselves leisurely walked off. Bye, girls. I needed to find out if my shot hit the mark, so I continued my duck walk up the hill. I still hadn't seen any pressure pop up on my hunter mate, but I decided to send Rascal out to check just in case. His barking told me I had connected, but I was distracted by the tree again as I made my way over to the find. I was going to try to get a shot off at one, but they fled before I could lock on a target. And there it was. Blood. My Hail Mary had at least scratched the muley. I pulled out my binoculars to see if they still might be in the vicinity, and spotted a solitary doe instead. Along with another bear chilling in the grass. The cats must also have been watching me, because they had left the comfort of their bushes to spend time in the open field near my blind. With no other points of interest, guess it was time to go tracking. Rascal, lead the way. He's such a good dog. He even made a detour, leading me to another blood marker when the deer had started to backtrack. We must have been getting close. He slowed his pace and began crouch walking in himself. But I was too slow to react, and unfortunately stirred up a lot of them as they bolted off to the left. It was the correct herd, though. This must have been before they had backtracked to the spot Rascal found. Making my way, I periodically glanced around as I stayed on their heels, in the hopes I'd see them first, before chasing them off again. In doing so, these checks clued me in on a bunch of turkeys resting, along with a fleeing deer. I need to stop stomping around so much. I didn't see the herd again before I made it back to my tent, but as I traversed down to the blind, one of the cats caught my attention again. Like the deer, my boots must have been filled with lead, causing her to run off. My big feet, though, surprisingly weren't loud enough to reach a couple of bears in the distance. They seemed oblivious to me, which was a good thing. But as I was almost at the blind, I noticed something else off to my right. Touchdown! Time for the extra point. As I tried to assess the status of the herd, one of my bear friends was assessing the status of me. She apparently didn't like the findings. Her friend didn't seem to care, though. Anyway, back to business. That arrow must have done more damage than I thought. That buck was barely hanging on. One more nick, and I'd have him. The pale doe that caught my eye looked to be further off to the side. I'd have to try for her later. If I was going to complete the community challenge, I'd need to finish off this buck. Time to close the distance again. En route, I glanced at an ursine female as I inched along, and performed my usual routine of spot checking my targets. Everything was going smoothly, until... So, I halted my progress to figure out why I had disturbed the beast. She was pretty close. Let's see if I can make this shot. With the roar, I thought I hit her, but she ran off like nothing happened, so I fired again. Only to find out what was actually screaming at me. Oh well. The deer were still there. That's good. And Snow White was waiting for her prince. Focus. Focus. This buck is the priority right now. Once more, I was within rifle range, with no rifle. Hiding in a bush, I decided to try my hand at luring them in with a different collar, since the electronic one hadn't been doing its job. Nope. Let's try again. Either the whole bunch of them are deaf, or they just really don't care. If they won't move, I'd have to. A slow crawl later, I felt I was close enough. Let's do this. They all stood up in unison. My target, once more, didn't appear to flinch. That looked like a hit, though. And as I told Rascal to use his nose, a straggler took off to my left. And then, I noticed the girl I was attracted to was in front and leading me on. Using her feminine wiles, she confused me, as I fiddled with whether I wanted to check her out or take my chances and make a shot for her. By the time I had made a decision, she was gone. I hesitated too long. Thankfully, Rascal was a bit more clear-headed than me, insisting I get back to what I was here for. The red pool lying in the grass lifted my spirits some. I might finish this challenge after all. Little did I know, my heart was about to stop beating. Whoa! Where'd he come from? Ouch. Hey, look! It's the elk again. Bye, boys. And the extra point is good! Did I finish the task I came here for in the first place? Nope. Talk about some bad shots. Alright, let's find another one. After another short detour to my tent, Once more, I proceeded back to the blind, only to spot something lying in the field past it. Ooh, second round, coming up. Oh, and look, a bear too. Was this the one that mauled me as it ran past? My faith in the electronic collar was slowly getting redeemed as I realized it was performing quite well in the smokies that kept wandering by. Now, approximately equal distance from the blind, I pulled out my bow as he rounded the edge of a bush. Time to bring him down. He stood to face me, and swing and a miss. 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 At least the melee was still there. Time for some redemption. Here, I became a stalker. I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. What an amazing sight. Lying there in the grass, antlers, massive and impressive to behold. And using this over-abused term, let's go. Nailed it. And he's down. Looks like good blood. And confirmation, I finally finished what I came here for. What a sweet victory. And a nice trophy too. Not quite as big as that diamond I recently took home, but still impressive. And with that, I had knocked a few parts of my challenges out for the day, and claimed my new camo skins as well. My primary goal complete. I figured I might as well do the rest of the challenge I gave myself. And I'm glad I did, as this day wasn't done yielding its rewards. And at this point, since I didn't feel the need to strictly stick to using a bow, I returned to my tent and swapped out my gear, exchanging my shotgun for a rifle and picking up a pistol. Wild guess at what happened after I left the tent to head back towards the blind. It's time for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. I almost felt like Goldilocks. Mama bear and Papa bear roaming about. I just needed to find baby bear and we'd be all set. Mama wasn't having any of it though. Finally, I reached the blind and pulled up beside it. I was afraid if I entered, the sound would scare the bears away. But Mama once more let me know she wasn't happy. I almost took a shot at her, but resisted the urge as Papa took center stage. Temptation was strong, but I needed them to stop moving. Papa tucked away behind the bush. But it was his turn to chime in with his own 2 cents. He wasn't happy either. I was trying to be patient, but he just didn't want to come out and play. So when Mama shifted her position and gave me a broadside shot, I took it to Papa's displeasure. Direct hit. Shuffling to the right to track her, I found where Papa was hiding. Unsure about the shot because the bush obstructed my view, Papa didn't flinch and took off running, realizing what had just happened to Mama and not wanting to become a pincushion himself. Best decision he ever made. Of course, he gave me his closing remarks though. Time to claim Mama. and chip away at these challenges. After getting in my steps for the day, I had finally returned to the blind. Only for Papa to give me one last scolding before he headed out. What happened next would take my breath away. No way. Do I have a chance? Usually a 3 is guaranteed. Or is this just going to mess with me like usual? Is this going to troll? I have to find out. It's a light brown male. Most likely a diamond. This is one of the few animals I can honestly say is a dream trophy for me. Just as my friend Chester Sylvester, who scored one just like it. One I want to take from him. Regardless, this one would be so much better than the other Tom I downed at the start of the day. The flock wasn't coming into the collar like the others had so far. I could only assume they were too far away since that was about where the deer were earlier, and they didn't heed the collar either. I watched this turkey like a hawk. But he showed no interest in coming in. It was time for me to go after him. I slowly closed the distance, ever watchful of what he was doing. Once I felt I was past the electronic collar, I pulled out my own handheld version in hopes of enticing him to come my way. Again, no interest. Just continued to mill about where he was. Smart turkey. And as I adjusted my position to get a better vantage point, I found there were others hidden back there, including an elk. Time for another call. No go. He just moved further behind cover, obstructed my vision of him. Finally, I was close enough to hear the turkeys making their own calls. Telling the rascal to lie down, I responded in kind. It must have worked, because he and a hen were strutting my way. Judging it was close enough for a .22 shot, I pulled my pistol out. It's go time. Hit! And everything scattered. And here I saw the flock flying overhead. The light brown appeared to still be going strong. I couldn't let it get away, so I took another shot. Dropped it! Yes! I ran in, excited to see what I got. Good blood. The moment of truth. I was in such a state of euphoria, I failed to see the telltale signs. A level 1 female? What? Wait a minute. What's going on here? I was so confused now. I looked around to see if I'd missed something. Find out where the rest of the flock ended up. I didn't care I was one step closer to finishing my challenges. There's a group flying by, but no light browns. Did it drop behind me and I missed it? I needed to go see. Was there even any blood? Another cluster was lingering further down in the valley. They were everywhere, but not the one I was looking for. What happened? Where did it go? Rascal? Help me out here, bud. I glanced at the map to check the hunting pressure, but I was so intent I didn't realize Rascal was going the opposite direction from me. Still more turkeys. And a bark. Another bark. Wait a minute. Did you find something, Rascal? No, no, go back. Ah! Blood! Oh, this is such a good sign. Almost there. Where is it, boy? Where is it? I don't see it. Wow! Talk about hidden. I was shaking at this point. I'll be honest, I felt a bit better seeing the red head. It was a bummer he was engulfed in all the foliage. I wish I had my mic on for the reveal. I screamed so loud when I saw the medal ranking, and I think I disturbed my neighbors. There's no way I could repeat that raw emotion for this commentary, but I was soaring after seeing all this come together. I had finally earned my Thanksgiving Steam achievement with my first ever diamond turkey. I've been wanting one for so long, and to get one as a light brown variant, I was amazed and overjoyed. I'm sure I'm still going to end up doing another hunt in the New England mountains this year to celebrate Thanksgiving and to get some more turkeys, but it won't top this moment right here. I'm on cloud 9. I'm lightheaded and in disbelief. It finally happened. Whew. I don't know what else to say about that. Kind of speechless now. With that amazing prize under my belt, I only had a few more harvests to get before I was done with the challenges for the day. Claiming the ones I completed already, I turned my attention toward the last couple. This required me to get some rest and come back later the next day to be within the appropriate hunting window. And once I was back in the blind, I was ready to get the job done. A few bighorns caught my eye at first. Unfortunately, my shooting was off. While the Reaper hits hard, it has a hefty recoil and a lot of drop that I wasn't accounting for. So they got away. Plus, the shooting chased a bear off that I hadn't noticed before. Luckily, a group of muleys were heading in. Guess they were too far away to even notice the rifle blasts. Further glassing revealed a ewe trotting along, and a nice buck that was already chilling on the hillside. I'm surprised he didn't run off with the sheep. Another ewe came down into view. These are probably two of the trio from earlier. She was leading the muley pack behind her. There's the third girl. And a couple of nice bucks. And my pale furred doe. I'd gotten everything else I needed so far. It was time to set my sights on her. I wasn't going to take no for an answer this time. She knew she was special. The last one to come in, and the last one to lie down. And for my benefit, she wasn't hiding either. Time to make my move and give her a gift. She was floored. I offered her another just in case. It blew her away. Success! In the end, it was just too much for her to take. She dropped from the moment, overwhelmed. Her other suitors knew they had lost, leaving her with me. Time to formally introduce myself. closer I got, the more thrilled I became. I was enamored by her beauty. What an amazing girl she was. I knew we'd be together forever. This day just kept getting better and better. Of course, I would need a couple of males still to finish my weekly task. After a short jaunt and back in the blind, I was surprised to see the herd I had just chased off returning so quickly. Which was fine with me, because those males from before were definite shooters. I just needed to wait for them to take up residence first. That wasn't the best spot. And apparently he stopped behind a tree. Maybe if I take the shot at the one I could see, I could spook the other one out. Yep. That didn't work out quite like I wanted. The next animal to cross my path was a traveling bear. I missed this one completely because I was in the midst of an out-of-body experience and oblivious to my surroundings. I was still being enlightened when the next opportunity arose. But I did awake from my stupor, just in time to take advantage of the situation. Tag! Now freeze! I said tag! How many times do I have to say it? Stop! This isn't the end of it. You'll see me again. They may have gotten away this time, and I wasn't ready to go look for them quite yet. So I retained my watchful eye from the blind for my next target, which was just about to show up. Although it did take me a few seconds before I spotted it. Hello, Tom. Why so nervous? Oh, that's why. Well, I already had a few turkeys for today, including my best to show, but I hadn't added any lions to my tally yet. Let's remedy that. Alright, time to find out. Closing in, I sent Rascal to earn his keep. Another good sign. A very good sign. Hello, kitty. She wasn't too big, but she still helped me out. including setting me up to see these guys. I told you you hadn't seen the last of me. 2 were wounded, and 1 was almost done for. Now it's time to end this game of tag. I just needed to move into range first. They glanced my way every so often, but didn't seem overly concerned. I guess my previous shots must have been laughable to them. Let's see if I can change their minds. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. Oh, you want to come play too? Tag. Now freeze. Looks like I did well. I'm surprised this guy didn't drop with that first spine shot. Now, how about you? I may have failed integrity, but break out the Bon Jovi. Wait a minute, how'd that not count for a third male mammal? Oh well. Looks like I have one more deer to collect. Somehow I saved this one, even if he is only a silver. There we go. Job's done. Work complete. Not bad for a little over 3 hours of work. Cha-ching! With the hunting done, I had one more thing I wanted to do before I left for the day. So I grabbed my backpack and broke up camp, making sure to get the blind, the decoys, and the electronic collar. Although I did have some weird issues picking everything up, I suppose I should have dropped what was in my hands before grabbing something else, because either it wouldn't let me get the next item, or I felt a sudden urge to take a photo. It was the oddest sensation and experience. With the original camp dispersed, I had shifted locations. This time closer to where I saw most of the action on the hill. I figured next time it'd be a bit closer, and it might work out better. Before finalizing it all though, I needed to verify I had good sight lines. First checks look good. Let's drop the rest of the gear. Crazy aquatic turkey decoys. And the piece de resistance. Voila! Good to go. One final check. So far it seems to be good for bringing the turkeys in at least. And I can't pass up one final round to put some food on the table. Can I get a double? A buy one, get one free? guess not. Oh well, I was done for the day anyway. But I do need to adjust its spline just a bit. That's better. One final detail. Let's move the tent too. And since I'm not hopping around drinking zones, I don't need to put the usual buffer between my tent and the blind. But a little more space might be preferable. That's good. Now to remove this backpack. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this one. I definitely did. Till next time though, happy hunting, take care, God bless. Bye. Now that's one strong turkey.